Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the July 3rd, 2013 special meeting of the Daytona Beach Community Redevelopment Agency. We're happy to have you with us this afternoon. At this time, Mrs. Thomas will review the procedures for tonight's meeting.
Good evening. Agendas are available in the front of the room on the table to my right. All of the exhibits pertaining to items on the agenda are posted on the bulletin board here in the chambers. Please feel free to view them at any time during today's meeting. You are required to fill out a blue form. My assistant, Ms. LaMagna, is holding the form up. You must complete the sections that ask for your name, address, topic of concern, agenda item number, signature, and date. The form must be completed and placed in the designated box prior to the item coming before the Community Redevelopment Agency. Citizens may speak before this Community Redevelopment Agency during item number 7. All citizens completing a blue form will be allowed to speak for 2 minutes. When you approach the lectern, please speak clearly into the microphone and give your full name and address. The 2-minute clock will begin. You will be told when your time has expired. All conversation must take place either at the lectern or on the dais so that everyone can hear the business that's being discussed tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Thomas. May we have a roll call this time?
Commissioner Woods.
Here.
Commissioner White.
Here.
Commissioner Gilliland. Here. Commissioner Henry. Here. Commissioner Reed.
Here.
Commissioner Lentz.
Here.
Mayor Derek Henry.
Here. We will now have the invocation led by Commissioner White, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Woods.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us here together tonight to do the important work of city business. We'd like to pray especially for our former mayor, Bud Asher, and his family tonight, and we ask that you please be with him. Thank you for all that you've given us, and thank you for all the opportunities that lie ahead of us. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to item 4A, the approval of the June 19th special meeting of the CRA will be added to our next regularly scheduled CRA meeting.
We will now move on to item number 5, agenda approval. If there are any changes, our city manager will read them at this time.
I have no changes, Mr. Mayor.
With those changes, a motion and a second, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes the same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Moving on to item 6A, it is our administrative item. It is the Central Florida Community and Economic Development, LLC, CFCED Loan Agreement Modification Resolution. A resolution approving the promissory note and redevelopment loan modification agreement with Central Florida Community and Economic Development, LLC, for redevelopment of property located at 456 through 458 South Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard within the Midtown redevelopment area, authorizing the chair and city clerk to execute the agreement and providing an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Sure we have a litany of speakers.
We do have several speakers, Mr. Mayor. And our first speaker is John Nicholson, and on deck is Weegee Kundig.
John Nicholson, 413 North Granview Avenue. Been there, done that. If you remember the Marriott, they want to sell it to the Adams Mark. The city of Daytona Beach forgave $3 million that was owed to us on the parking lot. They sold the building, and they walked away with a $12 million profit. The city lost $3 million. I don't understand why they went a year without any payments. We would never accept that from Joe's Crab Shack. If they stopped payment for 8, 10, 12, 15 months, somebody would have said something somewhere along the line. So I'm asking you in the future that payments don't go more than 3 months behind before something is done or something is said. Secondly, I'm asking you not to forgive the amount of money, but put it as a lien If he sells it as a profit, then we get that money back. If he sells it for even, then we wash it. There's no reason he should lose trying to invest in the community and bringing it up. But if he's making an excessive profit of more than $250,000, then we should be getting back some of that money. So I'm asking that you put it as a lien. If he doesn't make any money, then he doesn't lose any money either in terms of that. He doesn't owe the city anything. But if he's going to make a huge profit, then some of that money should come back to the CRA, and Midtown should be able to use it on some other project. Thank you.
Ouija Kundig, and on deck is Pastor Victor Gooden.
Ouija Kundig, 718 North Wild Olive. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, and staff. Just to make sure you all understand, I freely admit that what I'm about to say is my opinion. So you don't really need that silly sign, talk to the hand sign, in front of my face, and I'll be really happy when it's gone. At our last Save Our Neighborhoods meeting, we discussed many topics, but the one I want to talk about was the one labeled in our agenda, accountability. We all agreed that accountability was something that all resident taxpayers support and expect. The previous CRA meeting made me very uncomfortable because it appeared as if one individual was being held accountable yet singled out. In the past, or even now, it seems like some projects or individuals have not been held to the same level of scrutiny. I don't think I need to name names or projects from the past regarding this. Whether you were in office or not, we all know that there have been some cockamamie projects that have failed, projects that took a long time to be successful, or projects that we are still paying for. We've even done business with people charged with felonies, whether knowingly or not. The point is that maybe we need a more objectively defined process for accountability, where everyone, whether developer, individual, or the city itself, is held to a higher standard and held to the same level of scrutiny, especially where our taxpayer money is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pastor Victor Gooden, and on deck is Dr. L. Ronald Durham.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, staff, Pastor Victor Gooden, 809 Pelican Bay Drive, Daytona Beach, Florida. I'm here tonight in support of Mr. Gerald Chester. Not only is he my friend, but he's a valued member of our community. The things that he's done in the past have been tremendous for us, and I do ask you to continue the relationship with him, and I do ask you to not, as a previous speaker said, single him out and use the rules for some and not the rules for others. Continue to be a partner with him because we need that project done. We need his presence in the city and to support future development until the general market begins to invest. You all know this is a long haul. Our economy has had a long time to turn around, and we need not only patience and diligence, but we also need some support for when things don't go right. Don't throw him away. Stick with him. We need him. You need him. It's going to be all right.
Dr. L. Ronald Durham is our next speaker, and on deck is Wilburn Williams.
I wish I could talk extemporaneously like Dr. Gooden, but I have to have some notes. Reverend Dr. L. Ronald Durham, 110 Aletha Drive, City of Daytona Beach. Good evening, Mayor, City Commissioners. The Central Florida Community Development Corporation shared a glimpse of its strategy with me for Midtown around the mid-part of 2009. As the Daytona Beach Black Clergy Alliance began to collaborate with them for social and economic changes in the Midtown redevelopment area. Mr. Chester and myself personally toured the Midtown area for him to determine a point where we could begin, where we could start, where we could get something happening. He recommended to the Alliance that there was a site that he felt would be excellent for his corporation to become the center of interest for a redevelopment project. And as a result, he identified 4 dilapidated structures that were torn down, as many of you know, and has now been replaced by a beautiful duplex. These were the first of many dwellings that were intended in his design for the Midtown area. Also, most of you are aware, during 2009, a limited liability company, Central Florida Community and Economic Development Corporation, was formed to facilitate the construction and/or the rehabilitation of planned commercial and residential structures. This action intended to return dilapidated structures back into the neighborhood's inventory of commercial and residential structures in good repair that would once again be added to the tax base. When virtually no one, and I mean that literally, when virtually no one took an interest in Midtown at all, here was a young man that stepped up with a plan to do something meaningful in our community. The city agreed to participate and to be a financier and partner in his effort. Now my concern as a community leader and pastor in Midtown that there appears to be a pause in the city's willingness to continue the collaboration, I know I'm over time, with this CDC. I'm therefore speaking to you tonight as president of the Daytona Beach Black Clergy Alliance, encouraging the city, encouraging you as the CRA for our city to support this project by granting the recommended modification that Mr. Chester will and has requested. Finding ways to help build our community is the mandate of what a CRA stands for, and I'm sure that each of you will do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next Our next speaker is Wilburn Williams.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commission. My name is Wilburn Williams. I reside at 612 Willie Drive in Daytona Beach. I'm just here speaking on behalf of representing or supporting Mr. Gerald Chester. And as you all know, what he's done in this community, the facelift that he's given this community, and the morale that his facelift has given this community. And as you all know, that we've been in a recession, in and or around a recession for the last 8 years. A lot of businesses have collapsed, have fallen, and had problems in the last 8 years. But I don't think this has to happen here. I don't think to abandon this project would be good for, obviously not for Mr. Chester, not for the city, and obviously not for Midtown, which is where I reside. And I'm going to ask you all to please to consider this, and we can make this happen. We can make this happen. We can make it right. We can fix it, and we can move forward and have this be profitable for the entire city. My dad used to tell me a thing when I was contemplating something when I was a little boy. He would say, "Son, just do what makes sense." And in this situation, we have to look at everything and just do what makes sense.
That is our final speaker, Mr. Mayor. Marjorie Johnson.
Marjorie Johnson, 122 South Peach Street. I, too, am in favor of Mr. Chester getting this extension of the loan. I feel that he's done an outstanding job in Midtown trying to improve the quality of life for all of our residents. And you've given many people here loans that are still on the books. I'm familiar with one. He's now a state representative. He has never paid his loan back, and the city has not made him pay it. So I would like to say Gerald Chester is doing things in our community, and Midtown does need business there that need economic development. I have seen him work tirelessly to improve the conditions of our neighborhood. I, too, am working tirelessly to try to get Martin Luther King paved, and I have been up to this podium many times, advocating for stuff in my neighborhoods that I have gotten done, sidewalks in my neighborhood. We have been neglected for so long, and here's a man who stepped up to the plate to try to do something that's going to help the community. And if we go back and look at all these people who have come to this city in the past, like we just said, to save our neighborhoods, We've had people that were criminals that they helped out. Past city managers, I'm aware of that. I attended all meetings. So we need to have some accountability, and we need to have it across the board. What's good for one, it should be good for all. Everybody should be treated with dignity and respect in this community, and a lot of that I don't even see. So I would like for Mr. Chester to be able to get the same opportunities that others have had. You gave Dwayne Hill a loan, he never paid it back. Nobody made him pay it. So we need to have the same across the board for everybody, accountability, and stop treating one resident one way and one business person another way. Treat them all the same. This is a city of Daytona Beach, and we all are part of this city. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is our final speaker, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Well, would we start with Mr. Chester? He can come up. If staff, unless staff has something, we'll just start with your presentation, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Gerald Chester, 220 Zaharia Circle, Daytona Beach, Florida. I'm back tonight to respond to the request of this commission. But first, I'd like to start by, one, apologizing if there was any misunderstanding with regards to the first meeting. It was reported in the papers that we didn't have representation, or we didn't attend that meeting, and surely I did have representation. Unfortunately, we had miscommunication about the timing, but we did have representation here, and I wanted to make sure that was part of the record because it was misreported in the papers. Secondly, the second meeting, there was notice provided with regards to requesting information, and I did not provide it, but I made it clear why I didn't provide it. Some people probably could have had enough time to get it done, and it wouldn't have been representative of them, and I didn't feel like it would have been representative of our organization. So we didn't provide the information that was requested. But today, we've done that. You know, we've provided the information. We submitted a proposal before you. I went back, I revisited the numbers that we had before. The first time I made a request, it was a simple narrative because that's what I was instructed to do. The commission instructed me differently. And so you should have before you a loan modification proposal. That proposal comes back with a request. And that request is based on the financials that Ms. White requested and that Mr. Lentz requested. I think it was fair. I definitely wasn't in a disagreement with it. So I think the performance that I provided make clear the strategy to actually recover from this particular debt issue that we have,
Okay.
or default issue that we have. If you turn to pages 5, where it starts on 5, leaves the title is on 5. The request is on page 6. Five and 6. The request specifically says this is the request that the existing loan be between CFCED, or Central Florida Community and Economic Development, LLC, and the City of Daytona Beach, Florida, or City of Daytona Beach, CRA, be modified to reflect an extension of time and long term to December 31, 2018. That's first. What it does then is effectively push the end date back. That will allow us enough time to build up a pay down of the principal. And then secondly, this is the request that the approval be granted for a forbearance period commencing March 1st, 2013, which was a typo. It should read March 1st, 2012, ending March 31st, 2014, to assist CFCED, LLC, with the successful retirement of its debt with the City of Daytona Beach. That request is based on the performance that I provided. If you turn to page 8, after page 6, we did projections for several years. The first 2 years, including 2013, you see that we have a deficit at year end of $5,000. And year 2014, we're in with a deficit of $622. My proposal would allow us to collect money between now and March of next year so that we have a reserve. That reserve will ensure that there are payments made for any shortfalls that would occur potentially after that. I told you before that we would actually start out trying to collect interested applicants for tenancy into the buildings. We have done just that. We have the first tenant in the smaller building, the ice cream shop. The amount of that lease is reflected in the monthly projections, so we are on target there. And we have a reasonable rate projected for the balance of this year for the larger building, which we still have the responsibility for managing. We have engaged the electrician to start working on the apartment complex. I intend to have one half of that leased up by October of this year. The balance is in our lease-up schedule. And your lease-up schedule is found on page 2 of 6, page 2 of 6. The balance of the lease-up period would occur in January. The schedule, lease-up schedule, the lease agreements that we already have in place support the pro forma. The dollars that we have projected are real and they're reasonable. So it shows a clear strategy for bringing us out of the situation that we're in. We didn't pay for a year because since we started this project, after the city made its investment in the hard cost, CFCDC has funded the business of the LLC. And we reached the point where we said CFCDC is having its own financial problems. We can no longer do that. And so I said to staff then, we need to look at something. I made a request. Can we get a forbearance? And my purpose for requesting that forbearance last year was simply to put us in a better position so that the LLC could sustain this project for itself. Not only that, when we initially proposed this project, I could have very easily walked in with the support that I had, the necessary votes, and made a request that this be a grant project. The money would have been granted. I didn't do that. I didn't ask that it be granted, nor did I ask that it be put into a nonprofit status, because I wanted this project to sustain itself and become a leader in economic development and change, which means that we would pay the loan and we would pay the taxes. The taxes are at this point somewhat delinquent, but with this strategy, you will see the pro forma takes care of the taxes. So this project was intended to be a leader in that community to make the change, not coming in for a complete handout. But it did ask for a subsidy. Like most developments that struggle, where there's a gap and you're trying to get started, you come in, you either ask for tax abatement, tax relief, something to offset the burden that you would have. We're no different. And you're right, Commissioner, even a nonprofit has to make a profit. And so we looked at that, and we've developed a strategy, and we presented that to you. And that's pretty much my presentation for tonight.
Okay, thank you. Questions?
Yeah, I just have a couple questions for clarification purposes, because I'm reading a couple different things. On the agenda, the item that we're voting on is a forbearance through October of 2013, which would be a total of 18 months from the last payment, if I'm not mistaken.
That was the original request. But
okay.
When asked to go back and prepare this proposal, I took the time to go over each detail. We were willing to absorb the initial request, but when I was asked to go back, I took into consideration what Commissioner White said. We're a business too, and it needs to make a profit. So I had to restructure my proposal to make sure that I made this organization viable. And in doing so, I made a request that we extend the long-term period from 16 to 18. And I made a request that we move the date from October 2013 to March 2014. That's a strategy designed for us to become a little bit more viable and a little bit stronger. So it's not the original request. If that's your request.
So in effect, and so just so I can be clear, Marie, maybe you can answer, or Jim, are the item that we are making a decision on tonight shows through October of 2013. Would we have to modify that if if we were to honor his request this evening, we would have to make a modification to this as written, to this resolution as written, correct?
Not just the resolution, the promissory note and loan modification agreement, paragraph 2 of it, it's page 34 of your agenda. We would have to adjust paragraph 2 to provide for payments to begin April 1, 2014, continue through December 1, 2018.
Yes.
And then you would make a final balloon payment in the amount of, I'd have to figure that out.
Correct.
But that would change the final balloon as well.
Correct.
So we would need to make, we could make those changes if you choose to approve this request tonight with the dates that he's asking for.
And then y'all would just work out the amounts. It wouldn't delay it another month?
Correct, because,
Okay,
I
just
mean,
move
they're
forward.
certain. It's just a matter of doing the math.
Okay.
Mr. Manager? No questions.
Just a
We are
question
making a
to the
comment.
city attorney. You're talking about the paragraph 2, page 34?
That's correct, right at the bottom there. We have to change the dates there. If the commission wants to go with the dates he's proposing tonight, we would just change the dates of the due, and it would, I think, require an adjustment in the final balloon payment when you do the calculate the monthly payments that will have been made.
If you wanted to authorize us to do that, you could make that motion subject to us making the corrections that's been identified by the city attorney.
And then y'all
Okay.
just do it after the meeting?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Just want to make sure the numbers are right.
Okay.
This is on our, if it passes here, it's on our next agenda, correct?
Correct. It is, what's on the city commission agenda?
It's a resolution.
Yeah.
It's a resolution, so it'll just move forward.
Yeah, because the city is, no? No, they're not a party.
Why?
If you approve it tonight, it doesn't.
It does?
It does not.
Okay, so it'll just be done because it's a resolution and then we're finished. Okay.
Okay. Oh, well, we have a motion and a second. Do we have agreement to amend your motion?
Marie, are you,
Confident?
so we don't need to bring this doesn't need, the CRA has the authority to make this modification without the commission?
Yeah, this was an agreement between the CRA and the corporation,
Correct.
the LLC here.
Okay, I just want to make sure we were,
Yeah, I was just checking. For some reason, I thought it was also on the city commission agenda, but it's not.
typically, they are,
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be. Okay.
correct,
Is that, okay.
in this case. So, Marie, is the amendment, I made the motion, so the amendment would be to adopt, we just say to adopt the terms included in the proposal to have a start date of, Gerald, help me out, March 1st, 2014?
April 1.
Or April 1.
That the payments would recommence on April 1, 2014, and go through December of 2018.
Yes.
Okay, and that the final payment, how do we handle that in an amendment?
Just in that we calculate the amount that will be due on the balloon payment and adjust the
Okay, and that-
contract accordingly.
Okay, so I'll amend my motion then to have the first payment due April 1, 2014, the final payment due December 1st, 2018, with the final payment being, I'm sorry, what?
I thought it was the 31st. Is it
The
the 31st?
31st of December, the end date?
Yes, 18. Isn't that what this says here?
December 31st, 18?
2018. That's not what you said.
2018.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so it would, the agreement would end December 31st, 2018. I said the payment, so, sorry,
Yeah.
the payment was December 1st, the agreement ends December 31st.
Well, what the
So-
note says is that, and continuing through December 1, 2017, now it needs to say 2018, December 1, 2018, for the payments.
Yes.
That's the payment schedule.
And that the final payment will be recalculated based on those terms.
Correct.
So that's the amendment.
And it will be due, on or before January.
Jennifer got it.
Got it. And it will be due on or before January 1 of 2019.
And the final payment will be, okay. Jennifer,
who was the
are you,
second?
We're good.
You were the
Okay.
second. Okay.
We're good?
We have the recording. We have the
Okay, it was
recording.
recorded.
No,
Okay.
I have a question, because I'm the second, which I can second that. I do still have a couple comments, so should I make them before I second it? Or
Second it, and then we'll
Okay,
continue.
let's second
the
that.
questions.
I think it's probably wise for us to give you a little bit more time based on what some of these projections look like. But I do want to be on the record clear about a couple of things. This is a loan from the CRA to an organization to perform something and to create economic growth in an area and to carry through with a vision. And it's still a loan, though, and we still, the city still created that loan using taxpayer money, and we're still accountable for that. And I just want to be really clear that all the questions that I'm asking, I feel have been very objective and just really all relate to our duty here as the representatives of other people's money. And those people put their trust in us. So really clear to everyone that I'm certainly not trying to be interrogating or anything of the sort. That being said, we did get our future projections. We don't have any historical financials on your organization, and I personally feel like we need them, and we need them in the future before we do business with an organization when we're loaning money. And I don't think any of that is arduous, and I just want to make that point really clear that that's something I'll be looking for when we're in a position where we're loaning money to an individual, and I think that's pretty standard, right?
I agree.
Okay, even with, I know you work with a lot of businesses, and
Yes, I do.
you do loans.
Yes.
And so all of the things that we asked for are pretty standard, correct? There are two that should be pretty easy to produce. One is the insurance. So I would like somebody to follow up to see if the insurance requirements that are in the contract have been met. And the other one is the property tax payments. Are the property tax have the taxes been paid on this property?
I told you we have some delinquency. We do have some delinquency.
Okay,
we're
so-
not, we're not up to deed going to tax deed or anything.
Okay, so the property taxes haven't been paid
Current, no.
to this point. So I think those things need to be taken care of.
Okay.
Because again, we are partners. The city is a partner with you, but we want to be good partners, and we want to make sure that everybody is following through on what they said. It's been a tough economy. I know things get slowed down. I don't have an issue. I never really had an issue with giving an extension. It's just, as a body, we need to ask some standard questions, preferably before we get into partnership, but definitely when we're looking at modifying a very large loan. So.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Mr. Woods.
Well, I saw the email today, and that references some of the things Commissioner White is referring to. And certainly my question to staff was going to be, have we consistently asked for these things in the past? And I'm going to tell you where I'm coming from as a commissioner is for us to be consistent in our business dealings, with everyone. And I've had strong opinions in the past when we've bought out a prior lease that y'all all know I felt very strongly about not doing. No, it's a little bit different, but I think it goes back to being accountable and consistent with everyone. So in any of our future dealings with anyone, whether it's a lease arrangement or whether it's a loan arrangement, I want us asking for the same thing from everybody. And that's how I feel.
Okay.
And I want to add a few things. I'm actually very, very happy that you've asked for an extension to March. And the reason is, when you and I were discussing the everything that's going on, last time I said, do you think you'll be able to pay in October? And you
Right.
said it sort of depends on, what happens.
Correct.
And so I think it's much more responsible to actually say, I have an anticipation that in March I will definitely be able to pay, and I was concerned about the October date. So I'm happy we're extending this out to March.
Thank you.
Another thing I want to say is that, I received a lot of phone calls about this, and under no circumstances at all was I trying to attack you or whatsoever. My concern was, obviously, this is the third meeting that this has been on the agenda, and the first meeting we didn't have any information or we didn't have anyone to talk to. So clearly we wanted to extend it on to the following meeting. At the last meeting, we had an opportunity to speak with you, but we didn't have an opportunity to review what your projections were and what these pro forma statements that you provided. I know it's a lot of work, but thank you for getting that together.
No problem.
As Commissioner White said, there are some additional financial documents that we would like to see in the future, and moving forward, we'll make that happen. But I will say that it's nice to see everyone here supporting you tonight, and supporting this cause, because I'll tell you, from what I know about the project, and I feel like at this point I know a lot about it, it has a tremendous amount of community support and is going to be a major catalyst for that entire area. And that's the goal. That's why we formed this partnership with you, to make the area a better place, to develop it and make it a better place to live and work. So thank you for being here on two separate occasions and for bringing your supporters. I don't have a problem with it at this point, moving forward, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
I'm just going to repeat my comments from the last meeting. This is an important project, and we need for this to be the first project of more that are like this, because Midtown has not worked. We're not seeing the kind of investments into that redevelopment area that we're seeing in the other four. And we need to do things differently. And thank you for stepping forward and being patient with us as as there were some communication issues and whatnot that we ran into throughout this process. But it's important that we take our time and do it right, and that this was very transparent. Everybody knows what we're doing. Everybody knows why we're doing it. I was supportive of it in the past. I'm going to continue to support it tonight. And whatever we can do to help you to make this thing successful, and then do more in the future, I'm willing to pitch in and do everything that I can.
Thank you.
No comment.
I'm just going to commend Mr. Chester for being a pioneer in Midtown and for having the wherewithal to step forward when no one else would. I'd like to also commend you for putting together what we asked for, being a man of your word and presenting to us everything that we've asked in addition to what we're asking for tonight. And also thank the community for coming out and supporting you in this effort to let us know that there is backing, that the community wants this. It's not just Gerald Chester.
Yes.
That Midtown wants a new look, and we desire a new look, and we're willing to support a new look. Thank you.
You could almost cut the tension in the room tonight with a knife. And so I say that understanding that Mr. Chester has a great deal of support, a great deal of people who believe in his ability to help us get the job done, because it's not a job just for one person. And I say that even as it relates to the project. It's a project that we have to support. We have to support the business that's there. So we understand the tension. We respect the support that he has received. But by the same token, we also have to respect the job that has to be done by this body. It's not the same body that was elected 3 or 4 years ago. It's a different group of people. And so we talk about accountability, and accountability will not draw lines. As long as I'm here and hopefully as long as this body is here. Our objective is to hold everyone accountable and treat everyone the same, and ultimately, at the end of the day, to get to the right decision. And I believe that that's what we've done tonight, and that's what we're about to do in just a moment, which is get to the right decision and so that we can move forward and do what needs to be done. But I close my comment by saying this: Midtown will not improve without a whole bunch of Gerald Chesters. That means a whole bunch of people who are willing to invest and make a sacrifice. As Dr. Durham said, no one else was willing to step forward. We respect that. We want to be good partners going forward. So with that said, thank you all for showing up. Show up and knock on his doors and tell him to open his business and purchase some products. And I say that with all sincerity. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Likes not opposed. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 7, we do have one speaker. That is John Nicholson.
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. Again, walked down the boardwalk, saw the families. We're getting lots of families, but it looks terrible. It's trashy. It's not kept up. The peeling paint from the railings have now gone to, 1.5 feet on several locations. When they're walking down and they look at that railing and they see that peeling paint, they see the trash cans are not emptied. I mean, these are simple things to do, and we're just not doing it. If you go to the park at the end of Main Street, those showers, you walk through mud. To get to the bathrooms, you have to walk through mud. This is not something we want to ask our guests to do. That shower is terrible. If you want to walk to or from the beach, you have to walk through mud. Because when you walk up that step, all that sand, all that water is all sitting there. There's green algae growing along that. So no matter where you are, there's 3 places in the park you have to walk through mud. And that's, to me, is unacceptable. We can fix it, but we refuse to do so. One of the chairs has been broken again. It'll sit there, the last time we broke a chair, it was 9 months before we replaced it. Think of how many people see that in a 9-month period. Again, I hit you with the cones. That's simple. All you have to do is switch out a couple of cones. And when I asked you the last time, 1 cone was switched out in one group. So you had 3 dirty cones and 1 clean one. And then right at Main Street, you had 3 clean ones and a dirty one. It doesn't make sense that we don't put our best foot forward. And if these hotels are coming in, we have to put our best foot forward everywhere in that 1 mile area. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one additional speaker, Marjorie Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
Marjorie Johnson, 122 South Key Street. I'm here tonight because I still have some concerns that I need to address that's happening in my zone 6. I am very concerned about some of the streets that I went again down Martin Luther King today and looked at that Martin Luther King. It needs to be resurfaced. It is in terrible condition. I have come before this commission on numerous occasions and advocated for improvements in my community, and I see that the money is not being spent equally. I went today and got a copy of the initial response to the CRA audit preliminary findings, and there were 22 findings that they found wrong about the CRA, and some of it that had been going on in this city. I have a copy of it that I will be distributing to people to let them know that we want Midtown to receive some of the benefits other areas are receiving. And when I met with the city manager, I informed him of this. And when I got up here in the past and advocated for Orange Avenue to be resurfaced, he told me that after they finished their Orange Avenue, that they would start on Martin Luther King. But when I went down there today, and especially in front of the Mount Bethel Church, which is my family church, the Cooper Sims family, especially in that area, very deplorable. It's messing up people's tires. We need to work on getting the rest of these sidewalks on some of these streets in Midtown. There are a lot of streets, and I'm going to make a list of those streets like I did in the past and bring it before you so you can look at them and go back and finish the job. So we want to get this done.
Thank you. Commission, we'll start with Commissioner Woods. Any comments?
One more person signed up, Patricia Hurd.
Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Patricia H. Hurd, 822 Vernon Street, Daytona Beach, Florida. I'm not going to take too much of your time, but I want to address a sidewalk on Cedar Street next to Shallow Missionary Baptist Church, older building. Now, we have spent money and placed sidewalks there, but there is no one out there manning to make sure that people are not parking on the sidewalk or across the sidewalk. Am I correct if I say that it is incorrect to cross over sidewalk and park in that media area?
So you're blocking the sidewalk?
You crossing, you crossing over the sidewalk. It wasn't built for cars to cross over.
And then they're parking up on the church property?
And they are parking up on the church property, inches from the wall.
Okay.
That's the same as, well, that's very simple to see.
Right.
And I would like to see something done about it.
In that case, they're parking on an unimproved surface.
That's right.
Yeah, they are.
That's the same as if there's a sidewalk there and someone going to jump it and park in my yard.
Yes, sir, we'd have to take a look at what's going on.
I appreciate that also. And to approve Midtown and the restaurant and everything, we know that we are still waiting for MLK to be paved, I guess, once after we received pavement from Orange Avenue. And then the business will improve. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I know I don't usually have any comments, but I do tonight. Last month, and I agreed with Rob, that we needed to have it say on the screen comments, and not show. I've gotten a lot of flack because, again, people do watch us on TV, whether we are thrilled about that or not, but they do, and they're very unhappy that we're not showing faces. So I paid attention tonight, and I'm sorry, guys, I didn't even see faces shown, and I thought the agreement was that we would show faces and then put that up on the screen. So I'm offering one of two solutions. They've got 2 minutes to speak. You can either show their faces for a minute and then do the comments, or flip back and forth every 30 seconds. But people that are watching us at home want to see who's speaking. I still agree the disclaimer needs to be up there, but they need to see who's talking. So I don't know how the commission feels that we should ask staff to do it or what. But
Isn't there a way to do a split screen?
I'll just add. I just asked him up there earlier. He said that it's possible to have the actual video footage with the disclaimer on top of it transposed over it, so that's not a problem.
One other, can you have a streamer running at the bottom that simply says that? Because I've gotten a lot of flack, and I actually agree with the flack, even as I look at it. And if I'm at home, I wouldn't want to have to look at that the entire time. I feel that I'm intelligent enough to know at a certain point that I recognize that this person's opinions are not the opinions of the commission. I realized what we were trying to achieve, but is it possible to just have a streamer at the bottom?
Mr. Mayor, we'll look at.
Okay. Look at what you can do, but we're going to want to have some consensus here with what we're happy with. And so, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, but for the rest of tonight, I don't want to go to the second meeting. I'm asking because I noticed in the first one we didn't. I just want to make sure in the second one that we show people's faces because I have caught so much flack about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with you. I mean, and Leo, people are smart enough to figure it out. And I know people say some crazy stuff up there, but that's the way it works. We need to show their face and put a disclaimer, and that's just it. If they don't like it, they can turn their TV off.
Yeah.
Actually, they just don't trust city government is what happens. They believe the lie that was told.
I know. I think it's nice to flash something, but at some point,
you want to improve that standard, that thing where people don't trust city government. You can't let misstatements get made like that and not have some way of making sure that the public knows that it's an opinion, it is not fact.
But I don't think covering up their face makes them trust us anymore.
If there's a way to do a split screen, then that would be ideal. But
okay. Well, I have to give you credit. You've done a very good job of cleaning up some of the erroneous statements of late. Maybe you're a little tired of that, and you just want
I didn't
been listening
correct
to it
one
for
speakers
too
tonight.
Yeah,
Already
well.
said some things that weren't completely true. So.
Okay. Any other comments? We'll take a 10-minute break, and we'll resume at 7 o'clock with our normal city commission meeting.